because that was declined, we are working as quickly as we can to finalise this structure plan so that we know where we're going in terms of future development requests. So there are a range of specialist reports being done at the moment. Most of them are in-house, and we've had to use consultants for some of them, but certainly we've got Auckland Transport involved in the integrated transport assessment. We've got the stormwater department working on their part. We've got urban design being done with in-house, and so there's a whole lot of work there. In terms of iwi cultural assessment work, we've talked with both Te Kareramaki and Ngāti Whātua Kaipara, or whatever the new name is. Both Scott from Te Karo and also Georgina Harata, and they're both looking at cultural values assessments at the moment. So there are more reports there, but I've really just given you a bit of a range there. The planning process is important. This is the part which is, I guess, trying to be new and innovative and responsive, in that we are, having got the unitary plan to refine the high-level planning and the future urban land supply to do the same there. We are trying to do the structure planning, you will see there, in I guess together with the infrastructure planning which is required. So the next line down is about the initial work around planning. For example, where would you put a pump station for wastewater in this? Where might we have a school in the future? And how many schools might we need for a community like this? And so as we complete the structure plan, we get to that point of being able to understand what land might be designated as well. So rather than having a whole series of planning processes where where we do a structure plan and a plan change, and then we do designations and so on, we're trying to do as much as possible as some form of package, so that people see, when they're asked for submissions, people see the whole picture of not only what and who, but also when some of this might take place, because there will be stages involved in it. So you'll see there we're at that structure planning level. All of the infrastructure groups are looking very closely at the areas where they may need to designate in the future, so that as we complete a plan change and live zone it, we hope that infrastructure will be pretty close behind with it. So that's the way that we're sort of catching up, I guess you'd say, in the future. So consultation, to date we've particularly worked with the Transport for Future Urban Growth Area project team. We've had some meetings with the landowners and developers. We've talked with both key iwi groups. We've got a meeting coming up with ratepayers, and we've talked with some of the other stakeholders that we see may want to get involved with land and land purchase in the future, particularly Ministry of Education and water care and so on. So timeframes. We're in the preparation process now. We expect next month to be able to complete a draft, and it's at that point that I would like to get together with the reference group that we're nominating, that we're recommending that you approve today. Then we can use that group to work through the submissions and prepare a final structure plan in August and bring it back here for adoption, hopefully by this committee. And then once I guess you might say, the dust on the unitary plan has settled, so that we know exactly on what basis we would make a plan change, then we will propose a plan change process for that. So that's the presentation. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, Councillor Cooper, Watson, Casey, so far.
Thank you. Just in terms of the lists that you're talking about, and it might not be the right place, but employment, because if you look at the heat maps for that area, and the heat maps which indicate the lowest number of opportunities for employment in an area and the highest number of people going out, with the massive amount of people we're going to have there, we've only got Waitaki District Plan Change 14, which allowed, really light industrial along Hobsonville Road. Are we going to be looking at those opportunities? I know there's business was in the future urban zoning for the district plan or the growth strategy way back. Some of Whenuapai was business land, but are we looking at that as well? Because we can't keep chucking people on the motorway.
Yes, that's quite correct. The assumption in the future urban land supply strategy, and the one that we're basing land use on at the moment, is around 10,000 or 11,000 houses and about 7,000 or 8,000 jobs.
Yeah, but in that small area, but where you look at, as you said, Red Hills, Hobsonville, Kumeu, Huapai, it's going to go up to Waimaoku. We're also going to have more people in Warkworth. That's going to be more of a hub if we can make it that way, rather than just have everybody on the motorway. So is that going to be adequate?
So I think, for example, as somewhere like Red Hills gets structure plan, so there will be looking at that. But certainly we're doing a bit of analysis of that sort of demand, the growth around it, and again in Kumeu Huapai we would be looking to have a considerable range of jobs available as well, and I think that's part of the sustainability, the planning argument.
Yeah, because we've lost the opportunity on Hobsonville, so. Right?
Thank you.
Good, thank you. That's not me.
Councillor Watson.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Very good presentation. You mentioned about a meeting coming up with ratepayers, with the ratepayers group. That's obviously the Whenuapai Ratepayers Association. So to this point, they haven't been brought into the preliminary discussions?
They've been along at some, together with the Transport for Future Urban Growth project people, they have run two sort of open days through a couple of weekends. I went to one about 6 weeks ago, and there was another one about a fortnight ago, I think.
Yeah.
And we have had a stand there, you might say, to be able to say, well, here's this transport network being proposed, but here's this Whenuapai structure plan as well, and you might want to be involved in that. And we've collected a lot of names from people who want to be involved, but we haven't formally talked to the ratepayers group yet. So that's coming up within a fortnight.
Within a fortnight, okay, that's great. Just another question, just to the actual area being covered by this structure plan, and it's just a little hard to make out without the road names. That's all within the Albany ward, isn't it? The actual area that's under the structure plan.
There's a small part which is in Henderson Massey.
Okay. What particular part is that from the map? Could you just point it out? Sorry?
So it's, I don't reckon. So it's down in this area.
Okay, so that small part down there. Okay, thanks.
Councillor Casey.
Oh, Warren, I heard the words economic, cultural and environmental, but I didn't hear the word social. And my next committee meeting is focusing on the social impact of growth. And what I'd like some comment from you about the involvement of community empowerment and community facilities teams in this structure planning. How does it all fit in? You just didn't see it, which doesn't mean it's not happening, but you didn't talk about it.
Okay. So yes, part of what we're looking at is with a community, I guess a centre of somewhere around 25 to 30,000 people, what facilities will be needed within that area. So we've been working with Kataraina's department in terms of looking
community
at
empowerment. No.
community,
Community development.
community social policy.
Social policy, yeah.
Social policy.
And the sort of the requirements that have been worked out sort of across the region for example, at what level of population you might get a large swimming pool, or what level, what size, at what point you get a library, and so on. So there's some facilities there at the moment, but this is really literally turning greenfields into some medium intensive housing. So there will clearly be, I think we're talking about 2 more primary schools, the potential for a secondary school, a large regional park, I can't say regional park, it's not like that. But
We like regional parks.
well, yes, but it's not like a regional
isn't a
park
room
like
for a region.
what you might. So it's a park of reasonable scale, as well as some small neighbourhood ones as well. There's a whole lot of facilities we're starting to look at. For example, the request for plunket facilities and so on. So we're getting all of that information as we prepare the plan together. So we've got some of it, but we haven't got all of it so far.
Okay, so it's just for the future, when we were going through the SHA process, social infrastructure was quite sadly neglected in terms of the information we could get. And so it's good to know that it's at the outset, but it also needs to be as important as everything else.
Yes, what we're trying to do is create a great place. And the social infrastructure is...
Critical to that.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Councillor Webster, Councillor Darby and Councillor Lee.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Warren. Look, just very quickly, and probably you can address this at another time, just with me if you like. I need some words to tell Kumu people why this is happening before the PORP is actually out there, and why they're coming second.
Land restriction. Later.
Because I just had a very long conversation with someone this morning and said the reason that we're not doing Kumu till 2018 is because we haven't got the zoning yet, because we haven't got the PORP. So I just need some words.
So it's correct that we are doing this now because there is an urgent demand for growth in that area, right? And this committee has declined a number of SHAs exactly for the reason of not having a structure plan in place, so that there is understanding of how these individual requests all fit together. As to why we're doing it before the unitary plan is finalised, well, first of all, we have a future urban land supply strategy which says you need to start working on these areas because we, I guess, because they're seen as the easiest ones for infrastructure to work relatively closely in terms of developing the needed infrastructure. Secondly, the structure plan is a structure plan. It's not the plan change. It's a structure plan which is based on the urban zones within the unitary plan as it is at the moment. But certainly, if they change, then that will be reflected in the statutory plan change that then follows.
And further supplementary to that, thank you. But you can't use SHAs being turned down as an excuse, because we actually turned down quite a few in Kumu-Huapai
Right, okay.
for the same reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming up.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sorry, we're just trying to work something out separately here. That's very remiss of me, Councillor Webster.
Okay.
Did you get your questions
Yes, I did.
adequately
No, I
answered?
did, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Darby.
Thanks, Chair. Look, maybe there are other questions. I was just going to help with recommending that the names be yourself, Cooper. Sorry for just family names here. Cooper, Watson, Wayne Wayne Walker, Webster, maybe, and then the chairs, Chair White, possibly Chair Steele. I know that Rodney have expressed an interest in this area, and Chair Neeson. So they are the names that I would put there, and it might be a bit of flexibility around those names. And the only other, so I would put that after the word comprising councillors: Hulse, Cooper, Watson, W. Walker, Webster, local board chairs, Neeson, Steele and White. And then maybe just a question from myself, just on the C, do we need to maybe, after the word submissions, subject to considering formal local board input? Now, I think structure plans are really worthy of going before, that draft structure plan going before the board, maybe if they just call an extraordinary meeting to consider it and then get their resolution on it, and it supports the councillors and the local board chairs. So I'm just wanting some feedback on that. And if so, I would just add those words, subject to considering formal local board input. And I'm happy to move that to, if that helps